there, it's E Squared Photography. I'm Erin, going solo without Emily today, and I am here to keep things simple and fun. Are you in the market to maybe buy a new lens and you've heard a lot about the 50mm and the 85mm? Well, I'm here today to talk you through the pros and cons of both. And make sure to stick around until the end because we have something special just for you. And by the end of this video, we hope that you have a better idea of which lens you might want to purchase. And for more photography tips and tricks, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell for notifications for future videos. Okay, so let's first start by talking about the 50mm. Now, when it comes to the 50mm lens, we actually have the 50mm 1.8. You can also buy a 1.4, but the 1.8 is cheaper and we find that it does amazing. And it's actually one of our favorite. We'll talk about it as we get to the end here, but it's very versatile. So let's talk about a few things about this lens in particular. So the first thing is you can get closer to your subject. So if you want to, for some reason, be closer in distance to your subject, you have that room to do so with the 50mm. Versus the 85, which we'll touch on. The 50mm is definitely better for larger groups. So this particular shot here with wedding parties or larger families, the 50mm works really great for those situations. When you are using a 50mm, you can have less bokeh. So what I mean by bokeh is that background blur. You can still definitely get it, and you'll see in some examples that we show you in a little bit here, but it's less than the 85mm, which we'll talk about. So we like to use the 50mm for couples, weddings, especially wedding parties. We like to use it for our seniors, and we like to use it for families. We really use it for almost anything you can think of. Let's talk about now the 85mm lens. When it comes to the 85mm lens, we do have the 85mm 1.8. Like I said before, it is the cheaper of the two because you can also go down to an aperture of 1.4, but we never find ourselves going that low anyway. So when it comes to the 85mm lens, you can be further away, or you are further away from your subject because you have to be, because it is zoomed in further than the 50. So for the same shot that you would take with the 50 and the 85, you need to be farther away with the 85. The 85mm lens is really great for 1 to 2 people, and this is typically when we use it. So in these particular instances, an 85mm lens would be great. Now, the 85mm lens is going to give you more bokeh, more of that background blur. You can still get it with the 50, but the 85 is definitely going to give you more if that's something that you want. The 85, like I said before, is going to be a little bit tricky in tight spaces. So when you're in a small, maybe changing room for a wedding, or you're on a boat or something like that, in those tight spaces, or you just don't have a lot of room to work, the 85 can be a little bit tricky because you do have to be further away from your subject in order to get everything maybe you want in the frame. So we really find ourselves using the 85mm lens for our senior sessions, or anytime we're taking photos of 1 to 2 people. We'll sometimes use it for couples, or if it's siblings or something like that. But really maximum 2 people is when we would be using the 85. So let's just look at some examples of photos that we have shot with both the 50 and the 85. And I think you're going to see that both look awesome. So here's just a really great example, and this is going to show more of that background blur or the bokeh with the 50 versus the 85. You can still see it, the left-hand side with the 50, but the 85 is definitely a little bit more blurred. And then here's one of a couple senior girls. The 50 definitely still looks amazing, but the 85 really adds that bokeh in a way that the 50 doesn't in that instance. Here's another great example. So this is actually an example of where we did use the 85mm for a family of 3. That's not very typical of us. I do want to say that this picture or these examples aren't necessarily the best because we did use the 50 millimeter on the left-hand side. You're not seeing a lot of bokeh in the background compared to the image on the right, but we're also very, very close to our background here, which can also affect the bokeh. Now, moving on to the photo of the two senior girls here, both of these are shot at an 85. One, we see tons of bokeh. She's pulled really, really far away from her background. And then on the other one where she's walking, she's very close to her background, and we still use the 85 there. They both look wonderful, but they give totally different looks. So if we had to pick a favorite, I will say our favorites probably are 50. We use it the most often. However, more and more we find ourselves pulling out the 85 at a senior session just because we can. We've got the space to work. But if you're looking something more versatile that you can use with many different types of sessions, we would definitely recommend the 50. So when you're asking yourself, what are some things to think about when it comes to these lenses? Is, do you want more bokeh? Obviously the 85 is going to give you that. Do you want to stand closer or farther away? What types of situations do you find yourself in? Are you shooting more groups, which maybe you want a 50, or are you shooting more individual shots? Maybe you want the 85. Now, we hope this video was helpful for you today, but we do have something special that we want to offer for you. Now, if you are just getting started in photography, or maybe you've been dabbling in it for a while, but you haven't yet focused on manual mode, we have a free manual mode training just for you, where we talk through all of the steps of manual mode and we keep it incredibly simple, because this is what's going to really start to transform your images. It's not always about the gear. It's about understanding the settings and understanding manual mode. And so you can get that link for that free training down in the description below. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with a friend so we know to make more videos just like this one. And I will see you next time.